What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to JJD TV. I'm your host, Josh, and I thought this was gonna be a fun little one. I was busy all day with interviews, guys. So if you want more content on the Classicer, my thoughts, my opinions, the Unsackable pod's coming out, the Yellow Wall pod's coming out. So some pretty cool things are dropping today. I had a lot of time to let out my frustrations. But during that, producer T was saying, Josh, get your butt on our channel and get live because there's some pretty big news stories. And I just think it'd be a nice little distraction. There's a lot to talk about. I don't know exactly how long I'm planning on going live here, guys. I'm aiming for about 30. So we're going to talk about probably Jude. I think that's fair. But again, I really went into detail on a couple different podcasts today that we'll tweet out. So keep an eye on our Twitter, guys. If you don't follow us, TV_JDD for some announcement. But just to get away from the drama at the weekend, there is some cool news, some really cool news that's going out, guys. And it's a couple different players that we're being linked with. And one, you can see them both obviously on the thumbnail, but Zakaria from Gladbach as well as Adeyemi is on there as well. And these are two players that just put a big smile on my face today, guys. They really, really did. And it's for a few reasons, and we're going to get into the chat and we're going to make this a nice friendly one, but I'm just going to tell you a little bit of information as well as reports are from Sky that Adeyemi is said to have officially declined the opportunity to go to Barca, which was expected because, in my opinion, I don't think Barca can come anywhere near affording Adeyemi, nor do I think he really wants to go there right now. Just it's not the nicest thing to be. It means that he's more than likely to head to Germany, and it says that a transfer to Dortmund is almost inevitable. It's basically done, like 90-95% done, and that's huge because I've talked about it on the channel a little bit. I'm a big fan of Adeyemi. I think that he's a young talent with a huge potential. I think going over to a place like Dortmund could give him the opportunity to bring his game to the next level. He's already been scoring a ton of goals at a very young and raw age. When moving over to the Bundesliga, I think Dortmund's going to be able to shape him a little bit more. And I think that the ability for him to play on the wings as well as a striker, as well as even as a striker duo up front is massive. He can play in a variety of different positions, massive potential, and he's going to be a really good addition to this side. And it's also noted that he's not going to be Haaland's replacement. So that means if we somehow pull off the Puma deal and Haaland stays for a couple more seasons or a season, we could play Adeyemi on the wing, which is a position we need. So this is really positive news coming out of Dortmund today, and I'm a big fan of Adeyemi. But even bigger news, sort of in a way, is strategic transfers that I like to see. And you guys know that Witzel's contract is coming to an end at the end of this season. We're not going to extend Witzel. We're going to let Witzel walk after what, in my opinion, was 4 very successful years at Dortmund. But we need to be strategic. You guys always talk to me and say, Josh, who are we signing? How are we getting this done? Why don't we sign Lacroix, this player? It all has to be strategic, and it has to be around the book and how much we can actually afford. We're going to allow Witzel to walk away for free, and there's a good possibility that his successor is going to be Gladbach's Denis Zakaria, who we're going to get for free. So it says, according to Sky, once again, that BVB are in very good talks with the Swiss and probably have reached an agreement in some contract details, and the player is definitely open to moving to Dortmund. The decision is not made yet, but it's really good talks as well. So we could see Adeyemi come in and play a huge role to this Dortmund side, whether that be on the wings as a striker. He's a huge talent, and I'd be more than excited to having him. I had really good talks with Manuel as well, who follows Salzburg, pretty detailed, and he's got really good words to say about him. And then Zakaria coming in, letting Witzel and his big wages go out for free, and then replacing him with Zakaria, someone with Bundesliga experience, plays a CDM role. Smiles. After a miserable weekend, smiles is going around. But let's get into the chat, guys. Feel free to just pepper me with questions about whatever you want. But obviously, we're going to try to tailor the conversation a little bit around Jude Bellingham, a little bit around De Klassiker, and as well as the 2 transfer targets. So let's get it going. If you guys are just tuning in, if you don't mind, be sure to drop a like on the stream. It's always appreciated, as well as drop a sub if you're just tuning in today. And feel free to ask me whatever of those topics you really feel like it. As Sebastian says, hello, Josh. Great to hear you on a Monday night. Yeah, I was busy all day long, but I really wanted to touch on this because we have a watch along going tomorrow. We have a lot of content coming out this week. So I really had to get going once we've just finished the Unsackable pod. So yeah, but Alex says thoughts on Bellingham. And like I said, guys, you'll hear it in detail if you listen to a couple different podcasts that will be dropping out. Just keep an eye on Twitter. My thoughts on Bellingham is that he stated a fact. You can't tiptoe around the fact that the referee has had a huge past of match fixing scandals. The fact that he is an unethical person, and that's not unfair to say. So Jude Bellingham didn't come out and strictly say, "Hey, guess what? You fixed this match." That is not what Jude Bellingham said. He indicated that you picked for such a crucial match a very, very I don't know, unethical. I guess the only really word to say. You pick someone who should not be managing a match of this magnitude. So don't be surprised that there's crappy calls. That's how Jude put it. He will be fined. There's no doubt, because the German FA are the ones who covered up that scandal and kept Suarez safe for all those years. He did obviously serve his suspension, and the German FA, the last thing they want is for this to come back to light. So the German FA are probably going to come down with a decent fine on Bellingham. I personally wouldn't be surprised if there was a suspension, even though I'm starting to now feel like there's not going to be. But yeah, I love what Bellingham said. I'm assuming if it's just a fine, the club will happily pay that. And that's what you get for being so poor throughout the match. And again, I'm getting into this in the podcast, guys. So I don't want to, this isn't what this is about. So I'll touch on that. If you want more details of how I think the ref made a mistake throughout the match, at least the game management, there's some podcasts that will come out. Joshua must be excited, but you need a CB more. And that is true. I would love it. I said it, and I've said it many times. I want to see 3 signings. Adeyemi's 1, Zakaria for free is 2, and get me a center back. Just get me a center back, man. Get me a decent center back. You got to have an okay chunk of change somewhere, because we need someone who can step up. Hummels is starting to look like his prime is come and gone. I mean, he's already on the decline, but when you're so technically good and you make these kind of mistakes, when the big attribute of Mats Hummels is that he's good with the ball at his feet, you know that it's not a good time right now. So get me someone else. Get me another center back. But these are 2 very promising players, 2 players that I'm a big fan of. Zakaria on a free for a quality and a money standpoint is just perfect. And then Adeyemi is a player that's so highly sought after that is just built to shine at Dortmund. But yes, there is a consistent argument around here, guys, that we need defenders, and I don't disagree. Get me one. I don't care who it is. Just get me a defender. I don't disagree with that statement whatsoever. I don't like Adeyemi transfer. Maybe him and Mullen play the same second striker position. It would be awkward. Would rather sign a defender. The interesting thing is, I don't agree about signing a defender, guys, and I'm positive that we're going to. But Adeyemi is so raw, and there's a lot of upside to signing him. And he can play out on the wings. He can play in a 4-2-3-1 as the left attacking mid or the right attacking mid. Plays a lone striker, plays a dual striker. I wouldn't say him and Mullen play the exact position, because Mullen's a little bit more developed. That I don't know if that ability to be able to grow him and nurture him in a certain position is there, where Adeyemi absolutely is. But I do take your point that they could kind of be looked at in a way that they play a similar type of position. But regardless, I do think that the potential is going to be there, that Adeyemi has a successful Dortmund career, however long that may last. But yeah, we need a center back, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We do need a center back. Alex says, hi, Josh. Mr. Carlson as well. Not impressed with Guerrero. Guerrero, I'm still a big fan of Guerrero. I think maybe looking at it as a player who, you guys have heard me say this again, get rid of Schultz and sign a defensive fullback. That way you have an attacking fullback and a very talented one at that in Guerrero, and then you have someone who's defensive-minded who can be useful for specific games. Guerrero is an excellent player, and he didn't have the best of matches against Bayern, and I mean, you could put him at fault for the second goal, which I personally do, but it is what it is, guys. The truth hurts the most. What truth is that, my man? Crow here. I hope all as well. Best wishes. Thank you, my man. Witzel out, Zakaria in is good. It is, especially because one's walking out on a free, one's joining as a free. It is perfection. How much will Adeyemi cost? My guess is around that 30 mil mark, probably similar price tag to Daniel Mullen. Don't say it's for Haaland replacement, and it's not, guys. That's the key. This Adeyemi purchase is separate from Haaland leaving. So I think that's why I said this is very sweet, because if we play in a 4-2-3-1 next season, or any system with wingers, because Adeyemi is so young, still so talented, you can actually nurture him and turn him into a winger. It's very realistic. So it's not dependent on Haaland leaving, which I think is a good point to point out. A lot of good teams are after this kid, and if we can get it done, man, it's something we need. Good players and would improve the team. However, a center back and left back, move Guerrero to the wing is needed. So Jordan, I don't disagree with the center back. I think I'll say it right now just so everyone doesn't think I'm going to sugarcoat around it. Center back should be the number one priority because we don't have a strong, we don't have two really solidly strong. That's sort of unfair to say, but you guys know what I'm going with. I like Akanji. I'm comfortable with Akanji. I'm not comfortable with Prongicic. I'm not comfortable with Zagadou. Koulibaly still young, but I'm iffy with Hummels because he's been a liability for most of the season. He's on the decline. I'm one of my favorite all-time defenders, but it is time for move. I don't agree with Guerrero on the wing because I don't think that's where he shines. But maybe it's time that we try it. I think maybe Marco Rose is reluctant to do that because he doesn't know who to put at left back because it would have to be Schultz. But I mean, a 4-2-3-1 with Guerrero up at left attacking mid is not a bad decision. Guerrero prefers to play as a wing back. But it's interesting, Jordan. I mean, you make a good point. I don't know how much Guerrero would shine at wing, but looking at his defensive frailties, maybe it's something that Marco Rose should look to do. We need to move to get a young center back and left back. Love Guerrero, but a lot of Guerrero comments are coming in, which I think is very interesting because for me, I mean, the shocker of the night was Mats Hummels, and in my opinion, Guerrero, his performance didn't come close to how Mats Hummels did. But we all know that Guerrero isn't strong at left back. That's not his position. He's come straight out and said that left wing back is his position. So I mean, maybe in a 4-2-3-1, we've seen him play it there in the past. Maybe it's something that Marco Rose is going to have to try out soon. Aronson isn't one I wouldn't want to go after just because I don't see him as a winger. I want someone with pace, which is the reason that Adeyemi is in my opinion being looked at. Aronson, in my opinion, is more of a cam, and I think he's an excellent player, and I think more than likely he will probably end up at Leipzig. But for me, I want someone with raw pace. Is why the Ziyech rumors weren't turning my head at all, because I just don't think Ziyech is exactly what we need. I think someone like Callum Hudson-Odoi with that explosive pace would be so useful for us to the wings. Adeyemi has explosive pace, and that's why I said since he's so young, it's maybe a gamble that Dortmund wants to take on because they can adapt his game, and he's played there in the past. But it's an interesting one. Aronson isn't good enough. I like Aronson, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't take him at Dortmund. I'm sorry to our U.S. supporters in there. Branson, for me, is. We're going to have to see how his concussion did. Obviously getting what looked to be knocked out unconscious. It's a tough one there, but we'll hopefully get him back as soon as we can. Give us your ideal starting 11 next season, player by player, formation, even with new transfers. What a story there. All right. And again, guys, this is very, I mean, I can't really give it to you because I don't know who's going to come in the door, but this is what I would maybe like to see. I think this side should play 4-2-3-1. I think in goal is going to be Gregor Kobel, right back. And you say ideal, but I'm going to be realistic about it too, because I don't see a right back coming in. I see Meunier being our right back next season. And Meunier has been very decently average this season. He's been fine. He hasn't been the issue in my opinion. But you also have Murray in there, so you never know. One of those two will probably start at right back for us next season. I'd have Akanji, and then I would look to sign someone to replace Hummels, and Hummels can maybe start be using as a bit part role now. And this isn't just a reactionary, Hummels. I'm not Hummels out. I don't want to see him leave the club on that, and I think he's still got a part to play. But Hummels' best days are starting to be a little bit behind him. And if we're going to play in a 4-back system, there needs to be some investment somewhere. So I don't know who it is because I don't know the money that we're going to have. I would love to see someone like Lacroix, but I've adamantly told you guys over and over again, I don't see that happening because I don't see that much money being invested in him. Boubacar Kamara is a player that I've just been obsessed with. So take your pick. Someone along the lines that won't cost more than 15 to 20 mil. Someone like that. So I would love to throw in Boubacar Kamara, but I'll throw in St. Juice for now. And then it's a mixture of Hummels and St. Juice because I still don't see Dortmund going out there and bringing in Lacroix, bringing in a steady piece that you can say, all right, we have Lacroix, we have Akanji. Those are our two center backs. I don't see that. Left back is still going to be Guerrero, guys. I'm sorry. It's still going to be Guerrero. Two CDMs, Bellingham and Zakaria, I guess. Leaving Chan off, leaving Dahoud off. Maybe you play a 4-3-3. Cam would be Royce. I mean, now you can play Brand on the wing with Adeyemi and then Holland up front, or if Holland ends up leaving, you have Mullen up front. It's a very hard question, my man. It's a very hard question. A lot of pieces are gonna have to play because I just don't know the budget with this team right now. But if you guys are just tuning in, be sure to drop a like, my friends. Drop a sub. Let me know what you thought of my very unorthodox little little starting 11 there. Beans here says, "Hey Josh, I may need to start watching BVB. I may need a break from United." Well, jump on in, my man. I promise you, they'll keep you engaged. They'll keep you engaged. Bro, I hope Rosa does a rotation for tomorrow. Yeah, I do too. We'll be doing the match watch along, guys. We'll be doing it tomorrow, so feel free to jump in. We can talk about all kinds of other things because the match means absolutely nothing. But maybe it's a time we get to see what Zagadou can do starting from. Because, I mean, again, Zagadou's, I'm very hard on Zagadou because I don't rate him overly highly, meaning that I don't think he'll ever overcome and become a starter for this team. But I would like to see him get some minutes in there, and maybe you start Knauf, and if you want to start Tigges up front, fine. Go ahead. We're going to have to see, but I want to see rotation because I don't want to see any risk of injury, especially with this huge game we had over the weekend. A lot of miles were put on some of these players. I'd assume that Adeyemi would cost about 30-ish mil. My ideal side would be Guerrero. I mean, you got some interesting ones in there. Money is a big issue with me. I mean, like Vlahovic, guys. Like, I mean, if you're giving me an ideal, I would go out and completely reconstruct the back line. Completely. I would probably sign a new left back, a new center back, and a new right back, with Akanji being the main one that's staying in. But we don't have that kind of money. That's why we're going to have to be strategic on what we invest in. We're not going to, if we lose Holland, we're not going to get Vlahovic. That won't happen. Schick could be an option, but now looking like it's going to be Adeyemi. So, I don't know, man. A lot of that will come into play as this continues on. Would you rather get fullbacks or center backs? I'd rather center backs. And I want one good center back. Get me Lacroix. Get me Klosterman. Go to a different league. Give me Boubacar Kamara. Go out there and sign different players that could bring something. And pace is a big one for me. And there's a lot of good options. The Dutch league's got some good ones as well. Who would be a realistic center back signing? St. Just. It's hard to know because I don't know what the budget is. I mean, for example, we go on, we win the Europa League, we win the Pokal, we finish second place, could bring in some dough. We let a couple players go. It's hard to know what the budget is, but knowing that Adeyemi could come in for about 30, maybe get Zakaria, which will take some of the wage bill. I have hard trouble seeing where else we would invest. We need a center back. I could maybe see 20, 25 mil up there, but it's an interesting market. And I still think Boubacar Kamara might even be a free agent. So maybe he's a realistic one. It has to fit certain criteria. If you guys want to throw some names out there, I will tell you if I personally believe, which you can take my opinion as what you will. Axel, like, he could be a realistic one. He's not personally one I would like to see. I think that's coming from Yash's United love to throw some names in there, but I wouldn't touch almost anyone from that United side. But that's funny. There you go. Boubacar Kamara. One of my very first ever transfer video on JJD TV. You can go back and see it. Boubacar Kamara's face is on it. He's a player who I think would be a natural fit for Dortmund. And I believe, and I don't know off the top of my head, but I believe he's free. So I would take Boubacar Kamara in a heartbeat, especially if you can get him for free. And I think that you can maybe convince him in. I don't know if there's rumors that they would re-sign him at Marseille, but we'll have to see. Josh, I have to know school because of red weather warning, so I'm going to spend all day catching up on the Sackable pod. Aha, much love, my man. You guys are going to get a really in-depth look to the De Klassiker and everything that's come from it on the Yellow Wall pod, which is was very excited to talk with Stefan again. We've had him on the channel, and it's always been a lot of fun. We do a deep dive into the match. It's a good listen. I think we've accepted that Pummels is past his prime now, but everyone's also realizing that we need to strengthen the left back position. And it's interesting because Guerrero is a very unique player. And at the beginning of the season, when you guys asked me, what system do you want to see Dortmund play? I always say a 3-4-2-1 because we don't have proper wingers. We have cams. We have fullbacks that are very weak that should be playing as wingbacks. And we have a slow Mats Hummels who should be parked in the middle. To me, it makes sense. That system makes sense. But yeah, now that we play with the back four, two players who, in my opinion, shouldn't be playing in back fours. Guerrero was not at his best in a back four when you're under pressure. When we're playing a team that we're going to have a lot of possession and take the game to, Guerrero is fine. Counterattacks always hurt. Hummels always gets in trouble that way. And it's just interesting because the backboard system doesn't favor Guerrero or Hummels. And a lot of reactionary fans after this match were really upset with their performances, and they took it to Twitter. Another speedy center back alongside of Kanji would be ideal. I agree with that. I don't know my thoughts on him, Johnny. Haven't watched him play all that much. Do a little bit of research on him. Oh, yes. Sorry, I was thinking. I don't know why I was thinking Nico was someone else, but yes. This is a player that is realistic, and you know why? Because Dortmund love taking promising young players from somewhat mid. This is a very similar signing to Gregor Kobel, in my opinion. So Salzburg, absolutely. I think that could be a realistic signing. Young German U21 playing for a very talented and overachieving Freiburg side this season. Yeah, that's a great shout. I don't think I've heard any rumors on it, but that is the type of center back I see Dortmund investing in. I don't know how much Nico would actually go for off the top of my head. But that is one that is realistic, because I think that when Dortmund look at him, they know that he's got Bundesliga experience. They know that he's playing for a very overachieving Freiburg side. And that looks like an investment I see them going for, a young, talented German, 100%. It's going to be interesting. Mukiele, sorry. Yeah. We need to buy Nico Schallenberg. You got that. That's a good one. I love seeing names like that because that's a Dortmund type of signing. I love it because I like pointing out the difference of seeing him versus Maxence Lacroix, for example. And a lot of it comes down to money, but I think the fact that he's a young, talented German player performing in the Bundesliga is a big up, and it's a reason that I could see us going for someone like him. So I'll have to keep an eye on that, see if something ever comes from it, because I think he would be a good signing. But again, it's hard for me to really give you guys exact ideas. Zakaria on a free is easy because he's on a free and you're losing Witzel's big wages. So that's a like for like right there. On top of that, you're going to invest a little bit of money, which Dortmund tend to do, and it looks to be going into Adeyemi. Somewhat nerve-wracking because we did that with Malen over addressing the defensive areas, but we're going to have to wait and see, my man. We're going to have to wait and see. Can't leave Bellingham and Dahoud out of the midfield. I didn't leave Bellingham out. I left Dahoud out. But a lot of you guys are saying Schallenberg is a priority, and I like it. It's a good shout. We need a left back. I mean, a physically strong left back. Position is cursed considering how many injuries. I mean, guys, again, if you've been following the channel for a long time, you know my opinion on that. When we signed Nico Schulz, we signed him from Hoffenheim as a left wing back. He is he was an attacking player when we signed him. Very defensively liable. Somewhat similar in a way to Guerrero, meaning more attacking rather than defending. We need to get rid of him. We need to get him off the books, and we need to sign a relatively decently strong defensive fullback, and then use that player when Guerrero doesn't fit the match. That is what I think. We're not going to play Guerrero up the pitch as a winger, I don't think, which puts us in an awkward situation because it's up to the manager to figure out how to properly use these players. And when I look at Marco Rosa and I look at this personnel, I'm telling you right now, 3-4-2-1 makes the most sense. Marco Rosa doesn't want to play like that, and I blame him. It's not his way. His way is more that 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1. And that's kind of what we've been seeing. I mean, even in the Bayern game, we've seen Bellingham playing at that left attacking mid to make sure that 4-2-3-1 still stayed intact. These are great players, but the team needs so much help defensively. That's the number one feedback we've received from today's stream. They are great players. Zakaria is, in my opinion, a must. But again, that's not the money swapping hams. That's a swap, guys. That is Witzel leaving, bringing his wages, because Witzel's on good wages, and then Zakaria coming in for free. That is a very strategic signing that I would be all for. The issue would be how much money do we have to put into the team, and then why would we put it in Adeyemi over different players? And that's what we did in the summertime. Sort of, in a way, because you guys got to remember, we brought in Prongicic. We brought in a defensive reinforcement, and we put money into Malen, who was supposed to be Sancho's replacement. It all sort of made sense, but in hindsight, it didn't maybe work out to exactly what we wanted it to be. And now seeing how the season's going out, I think it's screaming that we need some defensive help. But now we got to figure out if we can get players off the books, because we need to get Schultz off the books to get another left back in. I think that money will be available to bring in a type of center back. I don't know exactly which one. But yeah, man, Schlotterbeck is a good shout. I really like that one, and that is a BVB player through and through that I could see them targeting. So yeah, I mean, yeah, honestly, you bring in Nico Schlotterbeck, you bring in Zakaria, you bring Adeyemi, guys. I that's a smile on my face. I don't know how much more work we could do because I think that we could work still with Guerrero. I would like to see Schultz get swapped out and somehow bring in even a young, promising left back that's got more defensive attributes than attacking attributes. And it'd be also a perfect window. Boubacar Kamara is a must for someone to go after. The interesting thing about Boubacar Kamara, the reason I liked him so much, is that he can play anywhere in the back line. He can play in the midfield. Well, anywhere in the central back. He can play in a back three. He can play in a back two. He can play as a CDM. Boubacar Kamara is a perfect signing for me personally. And I've talked about him a lot, even though he hasn't really ever been linked to Dortmund. He was recently linked to Bayern. Lacroix would be nice, but again, I just think we'd be budgeted out. And I think Wolfsburg, if push came to shove, would sell him to the Premier League, where a team like Everton could come up and snap him up before Dortmund would be. Where Nico Schlotterbeck, who's having a fantastic season at Freiburg, maybe isn't getting that recognition across basically the top 5 leagues. And that's a strategic one that Barca couldn't get, that Chelsea maybe wouldn't look at. Even the Evertons would probably go for like someone like Lacroix, someone who's just a little bit more out there than Nico is. So I really like that shout, guys. I really do. I'd say like a couple other ones as well from the Netherlands could be looked at. I'm a big fan of Martinez. I don't know how the Argentine would be. But yeah, thoughts. I mean, Boubacar Kamara, guys, I can't talk him up enough. I've watched him a lot at Marseille. And the reason he was such a good shout for this side is because we let Delaney leave and Boubacar Kamara could play CDM and center back role in both systems. Why can't they buy Demiral? They went against it. I believe he's more likely going to sign for Atalanta, would be my guess. He's doing well there. And he's staying fit. I'm Titty for BVB. Who said that? You better be joking. No, Titty is trash. I don't think left back is something we should focus on upgrading. I agree. Like, again, guys, this is my structure of what I would like. Just my personal opinion. A center back is top of that list, and you guys nailed the head on the coffin. It's got to be a talented young center back who could come in and do a league. And when you look at Dortmund and players that look to sign, like Gregor Kobel, looking at Gregor Kobel versus Mike Maignan is a perfect example. A lot of Dortmund fans wanted Mike Maignan, who went to AC Milan for a very good deal, a Dortmund good deal, but he still didn't really meet a few specific criteria, which makes a Dortmund transfer target. Gregor Kobel found success at a young age in the Bundesliga. I mean, I know that he speaks German, which is massive, especially for the goalkeeping position. But when you look at Nico Schlotterbeck, who's overachieving for Freiburg, young German international, who probably you could get from a decent price, and we've gotten good players from Freiburg before, makes a lot of sense. We're going for someone like Maxence Lacroix or even Klosterman. I think that we would just be fought out. I think there'd be other interest, and it's why the money or even the competition would make those not realistic ones. So center back and a player like Nico would be absolutely perfect, 100%. Then the swap deal of getting Witsel to leave for free and Zakaria coming for free is very important because it means we don't have to invest more money in a CDM position. You get a very talented player in Denis Zakaria. Then we still need a winger. And I think Adeyemi makes sense on a lot of levels because of his young talent German player who can play on wings, play as a striker when needed. Sort of what we wanted for Malen in a way, but I just think with a lot higher of a ceiling. And then finally, a strategic signing once again would be to flip Nico Schultz and bring in it has to be a very budget purchase of a young, talented, defensive left back. So when you have matches like against Stuttgart, against Freiburg, where you want to maybe take the game to them, you know you'll have possession, Guerrero can play. Then maybe if you can get this kid the potential and help him grow, he'll be useful for matches like Leverkusen, Leipzig, and those type of things. That would be what I would do. A lot of explaining there. Both Kamaro's and Zakaria's contract expire in June 30th. Those would be two massive, massive players, man, to bring in. We don't have 3 center backs to play 3 at the back as of now. No, I mean, I don't think it's Marco Rose's favorite system, and there's a lot of reasons why we wouldn't play it. But I mean, we still could pull it off, guys. In all honesty, you play a Kanji at left center back, You could play Emre Can. You could play Prongacic at outside right center back. Hummels through the middle. You have Guerrero, Meunier. You can do it. I just don't think that's Marco Rosa's system. I don't think he wants to play that way. He wants to play a 4-2-3-1. Yay, some positive after such a horrific weekend. Yeah, we got a couple podcasts coming out, guys, though, so you guys can listen to a nice deep dive into what was a miserable weekend. We need to get Sandro Tonali. And again, guys, that's an unrealistic transfer target. Big fan of Tonali, but we won't ever sign him. That unfortunately, a lot of times when you look at Dortmund recruiting, you have to look within the Bundesliga because it's just natural. That's where they like to go. And then very specific players from outside the Bundesliga. Some coming from the Netherlands is a good one. It depends on the type of player. But yeah, Tonali wouldn't be a realistic one by any stretch. This is my favorite formation for 2022-2023. Kobel, I agree with. Rafa on the left, Thomas on the right, I agree with. Timber could be another realistic one. Like he would be I don't know what the price tag would be, but if it's within that 20, maybe 25, depending on how Dortmund does this season with the money coming in, he could be a realistic player to come in with Manuel. You have Jude, Royce, Zakaria. So Zakaria and Jude as your CDMs, Royce at your cam, Brandt on the left, Holland at striker, and then I'd put, Adeyemi on the right. Very similar to mine. Just to state that, and I do agree. The center back signing we get would be interesting. We will sign Prongacic. I don't know. I'd assume maybe, but again, I don't think Prongacic is the man to replace Hummels. So, I mean, if it requires some more money, we don't sign Prongacic and put that money towards a really solid center back to come in. A 3 at the back would improve our defense without hindering our attack. I agree. But again, I'm not a manager, guys. I don't know if Marco Rosa just wants to implement his system, which is why he stays away from this. But when you look at the personnel, to me, it makes the most sense to use a 3-4-2-1. But not every match is going to require that. So, I mean, you have to be flexible. But Marco Rosa has really struggled to put an identity on this side so far. Eventually, Royce and Hummels are going to retire. After that, we're going to need to find some long-term players. Who do you think they will be? The long-term replacement for Hummels is not at the club yet. Unless you want to call it a Kanji, but then we need a Kanji replacement. We need another center back at some point. And Royce's long-term appointment could be Brandt. And I know I've been one of his harshest critics on the channel. And I'll put my hands up. I've been harsh on a lot of players that have proved me wrong. Dahoud, I mean, I'm not saying Wolf has completely proved me wrong because it's not like Wolf is winning us matches, but I mean, he's becoming a bit part important player. And Brandt, I just didn't think would ever have a fit at this side. But when Royce is going to eventually retire, I'm assuming Brandt will be approaching 30-ish, but will still be good for a few years. You got Gio there as well. I think center backs are easier to find than right backs. I don't think Meunier will be out of the door, guys. I just don't. I think Meunier is going to be our right back starting next year. But we're going to maybe Murat come up. We'll have to see. Nico is over 100K a week. Yeah, big issue trying to get that going. Alex is here, says, hi, Josh. Hope you're having a good day. I am. I talked about Dortmund for, I'm going to say, 8 hours today. And then felt like coming on here live talking about them some more because, my heart, man, my heart. Hi, Josh. How are you? I'm doing well, my man. Alex loves Zakaria. Josh, what do you think about Joe Scally? Can play both sides. I think it's a little too early to give a fair assessment, but I've really liked what Joe Scally has done and how he's grown into the Bundesliga so far. I wouldn't recommend a move for him. I'd try to solidify himself and keep learning at Gladbach. I think it's a good stage for him right now in his career. But I love the versatility of being able to play on both flanks. Will Holland leave Dortmund in January? 1,000% no. He will not. I don't think in January only City can go for him right now. Yeah, I can almost promise you guys he's not leaving in January. I don't know about the summer. There is that rumored Puma deal that could be very important for Holland's future. We don't know, but we're gonna have to wait and see. Kamara will be going to Bayern, knowing your luck, with Sula going out. Bayern were linked to Boubacar Kamara. That is a fact. Timber, Halstenberg, Zakaria, Anthony Adeyemi. Is that too much to ask for? Yes, that is way too much to ask for, but I love where your head's at. Timber, again, could be a realistic signing. I don't know what his actual price tag will be. Hasselberg, I probably wouldn't target anymore, man. Unless you don't want to sign Prongachich and you want to bring in Halsenberg, but his age and his pace, they're cause for concerns. I'd probably just stay away from Halsenberg. Zakaria is a must. Anthony would be too expensive. Adeyemi will inevitably, I think, become a Dortmund player. Nico, he's one of the most best performing center backs playing for Freiburg this season, and he's the exact type of center back that I could see Dortmund targeting. So I love that you guys brought that name up, and I'm gonna keep that in mind as this transfer rumors start coming up, because it would shock me if this rumor didn't come up. Because to me, when I picture Dortmund players or Dortmund transfer targets, he fits the bill. We need a good backup left back. Yes, but a defensive one. And I've been saying that throughout the transfer season. I'd love to see. I streamed almost every day during the transfer season, because there was always different news stories around Dortmund, because they're just such a fun transfer club to talk about. But never did I see, except for that one young Swede, a left back. But I think nothing can happen until we flip Schultz. So as long as we have Schultz, we're just going to be Schultz and Guerrero as our left backs. But yeah, I wouldn't go for Halsenberg anymore, guys. I wouldn't. And here's another one. I would love Baku, man. Oh my, I would love him. Right back, right wing back, right attacking mid. He's everything I would want. But I just don't think we would able to pull off a transfer for him. I think he'd be too expensive. And I think we would lose the battle for him. But maybe I'm wrong. Because he's a player I think would fit. But another big issue for me is that I think that with the money that has to be strategically used, they don't view the right back. The board doesn't view the right back position as a need because of Murray, because of, Chan, Paslak, and of course Meunier there. They just don't feel like they need to invest in it, which they want to invest in other areas. And if looking at the money out there, yes, I kind of agree. Center back is more important than right back right now. It frankly is. CDM as well, potentially a winger. The real question is, our defense really that bad? Any Bundesliga teams, or it's just typically Swiss German coaches' system that prioritizing pressing and attacking more than defense? I don't know. We definitely have managers that favor the attacking side of the game more than the defensive side of the game. I don't think Marco Rose has made her back line. I know Marco Rose hasn't made her back line any better from last season. It did seem like Terzic found a system, a formula that made our players play a specific type of way. I still don't think it was focused around defending. And Terzic came out and said that he didn't want to take away from the Dortmund identity. He wanted to bring that back into him. So I think that's another very, very interesting point. But we'll have to see. Kobel has saved Dortmund many times. I agree. I said if Berkey was our keeper this season, we'd be about 6 or 7 points behind what we are. Kobel has been a massive, massive signing. What's up, Josh? It's been a while. How you doing, my man? Hope you're doing well. Lampety, he's unrealistic because of his price tag. If he was like a year, if he was like a year earlier, maybe, and around that maybe 20-ish mark, that's when it becomes sort of realistic. But that price tag alone. So if we sign players, would we have enough money to keep Holland and Bellingham? And again, guys, I don't know. I don't see Jude leaving. I don't think you guys have to worry about Jude leaving. I think there's concern maybe for Holland leaving, especially that we're out of the Champions League this early. But you never know, man. The man loves winning. We can deliver him a Europa League, deliver him a Pokal, somewhat come around. We got an easy schedule coming up. So we could try to bite back at the Bundesliga right now and get some good points going in. But I'm a Fiorentina fan, and I don't think that he will be. He only has 1 year left on his deal, and he's got a gentleman's agreement to sell. I'm assuming, Sam, you're referring to Vlahovic. I don't think he'll be going to Dortmund. I'm not sure exactly what team. I'm assuming like a Juve type of team like that would be realistic. I think the age would rule him out, but solid CV. But guys, we're going to wrap up the stream for today. A lot of comments coming in, man. Yash not listening first. A lot of comments coming in, but I do have to wrap up. I've been busy all day. I just wanted to get this stream out for you guys, just to give you guys the update on what's going on. But we'll be back tomorrow, man. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll probably do a couple watch-alongs this week because it's the last week for Champions League. So there's a lot to talk about. But keep an eye on Twitter, guys, because a couple podcasts and fun Dortmund podcasts are coming out today talking about the Klassiker. Some fun stuff there, guys. So I appreciate everyone tuning in for this little impromptu stream about Adeyemi and Zakaria, two players who I do hope come to the club, and we'll get into a little bit more of that as the stories develop. So I appreciate you guys coming in. Be sure to drop a like on your guys' way out. Drop a sub if you guys are just finding us for the first time. Appreciate all the support, and we'll see you guys on the watch along tomorrow when we take on Besiktas and probably a very interesting little starting 11. So take care, friends. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.